Are you excited for GDC?
I love/hate GDC. I love it in the moment and then hate the following weeks of my life when I'm just wrecked. But let's bring it on.
I think it's going to be a really big year. I'm personally pretty excited. Maybe because we're planning a bunch of big events and I'm really stoked. But I think this is going to be the biggest year since COVID by far.
This is the most hype I've heard for it in a long time. People are excited. It felt like, we had the sleepy years of GDC during COVID. And then last year felt like kind of the reawakening. And now it's like everyone is max caffeinated, ready to party, ready to sign deals. And I think it's going to be, a big one this year.
I mean, just to toot our own horn for a second, which I know we love to do on this podcast. I mean, the number of high profile people coming through our happy hours, I'm super stoked. We're doing a couple of happy hours, one focus on the Web3 space, one focus on the mobile space. It'll be Tuesday, the 19th for Web3 and Wednesday, the 20th for mobile. So if you are interested in attending these, we have a lot of awesome folks there and we'd love to chat. So hit us up, marketing@upptic.com.
Can I get an invite?
I think you're already on it.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, yeah, you're paying for it, so. Cool. A lot to talk about. Some doom and gloom, some overhype. I don't know. Where do you want to start, Warren?
Let's start with Crypto Corner, a little roundup of everything happening in Web3 and crypto that is relevant to our listeners. While it's not immediately relevant, Bitcoin doesn't have a lot to do directly with gaming and likely never will. Bitcoin has gone wild over the last week or so, growing in price by about 20% and getting close to all-time highs. This is important because we're seeing regular people start to pay attention and talk about things related to crypto and Web3 again. This happens every time number go up. Here we go again. The things powering this, I think a lot of people are aware, probably if you listen to the show, but like the big catalyst in this move with Bitcoin was the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs, which are now getting a lot of buy-in from institutional investment. So it's kind of a new form of liquidity that's coming into the crypto space that hasn't been there before, people being able to get Bitcoin into their retirement accounts. So why is this relevant to what we do? It's new money flowing into the space. And we see with every crypto cycle, there's a pattern of things start with Bitcoin and then go into things like Ethereum and smart contract platforms that power more of the things related to gaming that we think about here. And then eventually moves into the more speculative interest in the actual gaming projects and the tokens related to those, NFTs, which kind of goes to the other story of the weeks. One trend in the markets, if you don't track these things closely, it might be counterintuitive, but NFTs as a segment usually do really badly when the larger crypto tokens are going up. NFTs usually thrive in more boring times in the market. It's just human nature that people want to be participating in whatever is the current thing that's moving up. So the reason I mention this is I think there's another very important narrative that's kind of going on in the background that's not drawing as much attention with all the hype around Bitcoin, which is what I'll call like the war for the future of NFTs. So for anyone that was around for the last crypto hype cycle, one thing that was happening near the end was we got this kind of race to the bottom for NFT royalties. Part of the narrative with NFTs in general is, hey, this is really good for creators. You can have these smart contracts that enforce that anytime someone trades your asset, that the percentage goes back to the creator of the project, which is all good. But I think what the market adapted to was the enforcement mechanism for these royalties was the marketplaces. So was OpenSea and the other NFT trading marketplaces. So as OpenSea became a big business, we saw competition rise up to OpenSea, such as Blur. And the way that a lot of these marketplaces competed is in classic capitalism, undercut on pricing. What's a good way to undercut on pricing? Well, why don't we remove this revenue that's not going to us? Why don't we just not pay out the creators? Because these royalties these are enforced at the marketplace level with the smart contracts with the marketplace. So I'm sorry I'm getting a little in the weeds here, but point being, like zooming out, as NFT trading got big, new marketplaces emerged. They all started undercutting each other by reducing the royalties paid to creators until basically it got to the bottom and the leading marketplaces became optional to enforce royalties. So it became almost like a tip of like, I'm buying this NFT. Do I want to pay the creator or do I just want to keep that money for myself and pay less? And you can kind of guess where that went. So this is one thing that really compounded the fall from grace of the last era of all things NFTs, NFT gaming. This revenue stream that these projects are counting on is now pulled out from underneath them. They're no longer getting secondary royalties, and that cuts out a big revenue stream. It killed a lot of projects. So this is kind of an undercurrent that killed the last cycle of the NFT market. That kind of brings us to today and why I want to talk about this. So a big announcement over the last few weeks was Yuga Labs, which is the team that they're doing a bunch of stuff, but most notably, they are the team that owns the Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, doing a lot of things in Web3 gaming and Web 2.5 gaming. They launched a new Ethereum marketplace with Magic Eden, who got their start as a large Solana-based marketplace and one of the big names that's a competitor to OpenSea in general. So this new marketplace launched, and there's a lot of hype around it because it's two big names in the space, Magic Eden and Yuga Labs / Bored Apes. And it launched, and the main differentiator was supposed to be, hey everyone, we are a creator-focused marketplace. We're going to enforce royalties for all the collections. Like, it's going to be non-optional to not pay the creators. And they're incentivizing it with like rewards that you can earn in their what's called diamonds, which is supposed to be qualifying you for an airdrop earlier on. And they did another marketing lever to launch, which is they did something called the like NFT Creator Alliance, which was getting a bunch of big collections together and saying like, hey, we're in solidarity with this enforcement of royalties. We're going to take our collections offline anywhere that doesn't enforce creator royalties. So we saw this interview with Yuga Labs where they basically announced, hey, we're actually going to remove Bored Ape Yacht Club from any marketplace that doesn't enforce creator royalties, not just for us, but for all creators. So they're basically taking a stand and saying like, hey, if you don't give all creators a fair share, you can't have Bored Apes on your marketplace. So this is another marketing beat happening with the launch of the new Magic Eden marketplace. So this all sounds promising. It launched and nobody cared, sadly. So like, I think part of this is just the narrative right now is around Bitcoin, and that's what everyone's paying attention to. But also, let's just take a look at what happened. So the Magic Eden marketplace launch, and the reports I saw was that it saw about 4% of the total trading volume on its first day of the leading marketplace, which is currently Blur. And I think this is the teams behind this, but I think kind of speaks to the state of things still in crypto, that it's still powered largely by speculators, and there's not a lot of appetite to pay out-of-pocket extra fees for royalties, even though people want to see these collections be successful. But it's sort of like, I think everybody wants somebody else to pick up the tab for it. So I'm rooting for this marketplace. I really like the initiative by Yuga and Magic Eden, and it's disappointing to see that there's no traction. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with the war for NFTs and finding a viable mechanism to keep these projects sustainable via royalties. But Xander, have you been tracking this at all? Have you even looked at the NFTs that are rotting in your wallet over the last year? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot. Just laid out a lot, but a few thoughts. I mean, on the Bitcoin price, that's fine. You know, broadening out the marketplace for this, it's basically digital gold, they call it. It's good. You can't hurt the ecosystem overall. It seems like there's a lot of dumb money piling in, and I think that's going to be the story of Bitcoin for the foreseeable future. What I saw, which was kind of interesting, is like people are now talking about an Ethereum ETF, which, you know, I like that a lot better because I hold Ethereum and I don't hold Bitcoin. So great, please do that. I'd love to see those Ethereum prices pump. Regarding the NFT marketplace thing, I'm as close to a boomer in Web3 as it possibly gets. I still use OpenSea, which I know is like sacrosanct in the fucking crypto ecosystem. And I didn't know about this until you put it on my radar today. And what's the catalyst for someone like me to make a change is my question.
Yeah, I'll give you the pitch the way I understand the value proposition. It's twofold. One is that if you care about this sector, this is a way that gives better sustainability to the creators of the marketplace. That's the selfless reason. And the selfish reason, the degen reason, is airdrops. So Magic Eden has very heavy-handedly alluded to that these diamonds that you earn through trading on their platform and using their platform over competitors will be rewarded generously. Magic Eden has never launched their own token, and everyone's expectation is that the diamonds are basically points that will score you this airdrop. So you get to be the nice guy supporting collections, and then you also get free money. That's my pitch to you for the new Magic Eden marketplace.
So I like free money. I pay royalty fees on my transactions on OpenSea. I've been told that there's ways of not doing it, but like if you go through their sale flow, it's like not really obvious how you opt out of paying royalties. There's not like a checkbox that says don't pay royalties. So I've paid 5% on my most recent transactions, and I made a couple recently, and I paid thousands of dollars or whatever.
Yeah, they've iterated on this a lot over the years, and it also depends on the collection too. Some of them have royalties on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Blur is the marketplace, which is probably the one I use the most. You can set the amount of royalties that you want to pay on it. And OpenSea has gone back and forth. Initially, like they were making this solely optional, then there was huge blowback. yeah, currently there is, like I see on Bored Apes, like they right now have a 1% creator earning, which is like less than they have before, but there's at least something that's enforced.
Right.
And of course, the royalties that are enforced is OpenSea's royalties. So whenever you make an NFT purchase, you pay two kinds of royalties. You pay to the platform, which is mandatory, and then you pay to the collection, which is variable and at the discretion of the marketplace, whether they enforce that or not.
Yeah. Conceptually, this sounds great. At the high level, there's a lot of stuff about crypto to like. You create something, you have a potential revenue stream. That's awesome. Especially if you can incentivize, transactions on it. Sweet. I think the thing we'll have to see is like, how do you get people to adopt, right? And it's like, that's basically a marketing challenge. Because I mean, the thing is, to disrupt an incumbent, you don't have to be marginally better. The general thinking is you have to be 10x better. And so what are they going to do? They either have to spend a lot on marketing it, right? Holler at us. Or they got to produce a product that's significantly better. As an end user, it's not obvious to me that there's a huge advantage. I mean, I'll probably check it out anyway because it's interesting and I care about the space. I'm not sure how weird I am in the Web3 ecosystem, right? I'm not full degen. I'm like somewhere on the gradient. And like, I don't know how much of the ecosystem is where I am versus where someone like you are or someone who's buying a Bitcoin ETF is.
Yeah, well, as you said, I think some of it is just like marketing and messaging. So like crypto is a very noisy space. I mean, right. I think in theory, there's very few people that would be against the value proposition of, oh, cool, this better supports creators. And by participating in this new marketplace, I'm going to get some kind of airdrop in the future. But you have to kind of unpack the differentiator of what this marketplace is and how you participate in that airdrop. Like there's a lot of disparate pieces of information. So anytime that we're supporting a Web3 gaming project, one thing that we find we have to do a lot that we don't do in just like traditional games is make content that's just like explaining how this crap works. Like, here's how this piece of the puzzle connects to this piece. Okay, this thing that you bought that you own, here's how you use it in the game. Here's how it relates to this token that you're going to earn. We always talk about like the onboarding adoption of just the process you have to go through in all things related to Web3. But there's also just like the general complexity that is your obstacle in understanding a lot of like blockchain-based projects. And yeah, the positioning of why people should participate in the Magic Eden Yuga marketplace, I don't think it's like been boiled down and marketed out as oftenly as it could be. So that being said, we're rooting for their success. It's a good thing both for users and for creators. And this is something I'll be watching closely.